Hello, Speed Gaming 2. Welcome to another exciting Sunday of Super Metroid multi-category action. We've got an any percent race here today between Cynan, Mache, and Diddy Kong, or Cynan and Diddy. I am joined today by the one and only Kip Stratus. Hey, Kip, how you doing today?
Yo, Rumble, that might be the most elaborate introduction to me ever. Thank you, man. It makes me feel good on a Sunday morning. Glad to join you. In fact, I'm really excited because I really like both of these runners a lot, and I think they're both excellent guys and also runners. This is also a really big match because the winner of this match will qualify for the play-in race to the playoffs. The loser, unfortunately, will finish 3-3, but that's still a good, performance in this tournament. So, pretty big match. Should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think given the field of this tournament, I think going 3-3 is a pretty big accomplishment in and of itself. I've seen a lot of runners going 4-2 and 3-3 that that's very impressive.
I'm gonna be pretty happy with that.
For sure. I do want to give a quick shout out to Diddy. I've got some stuff to talk about with both of these runners, but Diddy in particular is one of the organizers of this tournament. And for full disclosure, I am as well, and I'm not saying this
as is typical of 6'8"
to sort of float my boat, but I do want to point out Diddy has worked extremely hard on a lot of things behind the scenes, and so I want to shout him out, and also the other organizers, Tracy and Sloters and Maniacal and Balthasar and Farrell, and I think we got a few other people who've helped out here and there, and all the people from Speed Gaming. So a lot of great work has been going on to get this together, and this is going to be a great culmination today, the final day of Swiss races.
The roto discs in this level are spinning the direction, or a direction that normally they're not supposed to spin, so that's actually randomized as well as obviously the fortress enemies themselves. But yeah, so normally this is a pretty easy fortress in vanilla, but in randomizer it's significantly more difficult because they cause such a hassle for you to win. So most of the time in this fortress, you see people go through pretty casually like they are right now, just because it doesn't allow you to go quickly. And picking up the World 7 airship, which is
Okay, so real quick, a little background information. Cynan came into this tournament as the overall number 29 seed out of, I think, 60 players at first. Diddy was the 37 seed out of 60 players. So both of them have had a fantastic tournament to be here facing each other to make it into the play-in race and then, potentially make it into the playoffs, which the playoffs are only the top 16 of the entire field of 60. So, whichever runner wins, if he's able to then go on to make the playoffs, that would be a very huge jump in initial seeding versus final results. So both runners really doing well so far.
Yeah, and I had a ton of fantastic commentary and insight as I was muted throughout Series Station, just to throw that out there. I just pretend that I said something witty and insightful.
Yeah, we're just taking care of a few things, easy peasy. So tell me this, Rumble. I know a good bit about Cynan in terms of, I know he's done some other categories like low ice and stuff like that, but I'm actually not 100% familiar with whether these two runners run old route or new route. Do you know which one we might see today?
I do not know, and I've been trying to pull up the spreadsheet this morning to try to get a look at some of the information, and it's not participating. It's not participating for me. It's not working for me, so I'm unable to get a lot of information on them. I am guessing, and this is just because new route is so hard, that I'm guessing that they are both running old route.
Yeah, that would be my assumption too. We will see. I know Cynan has done some low ice, so it could be that he, has some new route experience. Cynan's overall PB in any percent at the, I don't know if this is accurate today, but at the start of the tournament was, I think, a 48, a low 48. Diddy's is around at 52. So there's a few minute differential, but as we saw in many races already, anything can happen in any percent. So we'll see how it goes for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, you know, it turns out game is hard. So anything, plenty of dangerous spots throughout the run, and we'll see if with that kind of PB advantage, if Cynan decides to take some safeties.
I like Cynan's strat here. We could sit here and talk literally all day about the different strats people elect to use, why, for, you know, some work well for different skill levels. Obviously, in a game like this, with any speed run, you know, you're trying to move as quickly as possible. We see a really nice ledge grab climb here. Let's see what Diddy does. Looks like Diddy's going to do some wall jumps. You want to move as quickly as possible, but at the same time, if you run super aggressive strats that you're not very consistent with all the time, then your runs are very unlikely to ever reach your full potential, just because you're going to miss a lot of things. So I like seeing runners, you know, adapt to their skill level and find things that they're comfortable with. Cynan in particular used a slightly slower but fairly consistent gap skip method in that old mother brain room in the pit room. I actually used to use that strat too, and I think it's really a good way to get in before you start going for the more tight jumps there.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think I still to this day use that same strat in that room.
Yeah, I like it. It's a great strat. It's not slow at all. It's a little slower than the, you know, the more optimal strats, but it's a good method, especially when you're kind of getting started and trying to acclimate yourself to the game over time. Diddy is going to be fighting BT here, getting some good drops. Both runners actually got fortunate drops there from BT, and we're able to clean him up with 7 missiles. Nicely done. So just to clarify, something you will see, I know a lot of people watch a lot of Super Metroid, or even if you're new, there's a lot of nuance to the movement tech and what's technically possible. Whenever Samus is in the air, whether she's falling off a ledge or just jumping or whatever, if you press down, she will aim at the ground, and what that does is it compresses her hitbox. So sometimes there are places in the game where you can run off of a ledge, and if you didn't do anything, she would not make the next ledge. But if you pressed and held down, she'd actually have a small enough hitbox to make the next ledge. And so that's one of the pieces of tech that people use in certain places.
Yeah, and it's pretty nuanced, as you said. You have to kind of press down at the right time, or you'll fall anyway. And if you hold on to it too much, then you'll stop on the next one and slow yourself down. We did see both runners face tank those pirates in that corridor, which generally is an indication that they'll be heading down to Kraid after Red Tower.
That's a good point there, Rumble. Cynan grabbing his early super pack, utilizing that mock ball. He also did a good job of getting up to that platform. Again, I don't want to bore everybody. I could talk about this all day, but there are so many different strats in each room. In particular, where Diddy is right now, jumping up here to this top ledge. There are like 4 or 5 different strats I can think of that people have utilized to go, you know, either faster or slower, but, you know, potentially easier. So both of them did a good job of not getting hit by any more than just one of the waivers there and taking 10 damage, which is what you want. Right, Cynan grabbing his charge beam, very important item for the rest of the run, especially, I mean, it's in every category really, but you know, in particular in old route, when you end up getting your full beam combination with plasma, those charge shots become very powerful against Ridley and Mother Brain.
Yeah, it also allows us to skip a lot of ammo. Obviously, if we had to kill stuff with ammo, we'd be picking up a lot more missiles and supers. Cheap Six Spec, I'm not sure what you're referring to before wave. I don't think there's really any gap skips in double chamber, which is the room before wave.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that question was either. I think if you're referring to the what do you call those platforms? Rumble, they have like an official name. I don't remember what it is.
Oh, I call them the terrible platforms that I go through all the time when I don't want to.
Right. Yeah. There's I don't think they're close enough to where you can gap skip those, but people are normally going to be jumping across and trying to shoot that gate.
Oh, the room before that with the seahorses. Yeah, there is a gap there. I don't know, but it might change the door transition.
It does. It affects the door. It also affects the momentum that you carry into the next room for the jumps. So you know, without the practice ROM here, I can't give you every tiny nuance breakdown, but that's kind of a preference thing. Some people gap skip that, some people don't. Personally, I don't, because I find the method that I use to be faster and more consistent for me, but that doesn't mean that a gap skip doesn't work better. The problem is that with every strat comes a consequence in this game. And so a lot of times when people are talking about the fastest strats, or they're just saying it in chat or whatever, it's a lot more nuanced than that, and there's a lot that goes into it, so it's kind of hard to say. And sometimes what might be the absolute fastest from a task is not necessarily human viable, or even necessarily viable by very many players. So it really depends. I can assure you this: if every player tried to go for the world record strats all the time, you would see a lot of runs that didn't get completed, and a lot of overall times that would be significantly slower. Cynan cleaning up that Kraid quick kill very nicely, and using a double missile method. Let's see what Diddy does here. I see the one and only Asger in the chat. Got to give him a shout out real quick. Diddy using the charge quick kill method. Got to love that too. I love to see different strats being used. Great job, Diddy. Asger qualified for the playoffs last night, going a total of 5-1 for this Swiss portion of the tournament. Congratulations. Ran low ice last night in arguably one of the most interesting races that I think I've ever seen. But at the same time, a win is a win. So congratulations, man, and good luck in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely a marathon of a run for sure yesterday.
It featured multiple deaths by multiple runners at different points in the run, and also forfeits and unforfeits and all kinds of stuff. So it was actually pretty fun to watch. But I always love seeing low ice, and I appreciate several people in this tournament having been willing to run that as one of the categories. I think low ice is probably the most, or maybe the least represented major category in terms of racing in Super Metroid. So I'm glad that we got to see some of that in this tournament.
Yes, unforfeit is a thing. The race isn't over until the race finishes, and if you forfeit, it's basically just saying I'm not going to finish, but you can change your mind and decide, no, actually, I'm gonna keep going.
That's correct. SRL rules, the forfeit does not go into effect until a runner finishes, or I guess the race ends. So technically, it's not against the rules to dot undone and continue on if you prefer. But Cynan grabbing the high jump boots, Diddy following suit here in business.
Yeah, and both of our runners did pick up the Crady tank. I think that makes sense, honestly, for both of them. Cynan for safety, keep that health high, and Diddy just honestly dropping the Crady tank for where their PVs are at probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Probably costs them more time than it would save.
I totally agree. I mean, again, we could sit here and talk about this kind of stuff all day. Obviously, speed running, in theory, you are trying to cut the most items you can, complete the things with the bare minimum for speed that you can, but that doesn't mean you're going to execute every time in a run, especially in a race. So actually, there have been plenty of times in the past where my best run in a category actually included more safeties than I intended, because I accidentally PB'd on a race run or something. So you just never know what's going to happen.
Cynan doing a nice quick farm there before going to get speed. I think he's probably hoping for some supers. Unfortunately, didn't get any on that. on that farm, or maybe got one.
Yeah, I need to check that out too because a lot of people do that. The reason that you'll see people do a one farm at that particular juncture is because they're trying to do some kind of fix on the door. Like it ends up being that like the way you run that strat there and then in the next room ends up saving time overall versus how many you would have to farm on the way out. So anyway, I've never tested it myself just because to me it's kind of a minor thing in relation to my current strats to adjust. So I haven't gotten around to it, but it's interesting to see people do it.
Yeah, and those bugs were not too kind. He did a double farm coming out of there. Only got one super. But his ammo is good, good enough. He has what he needs to get to wreck ship, for sure.
He also ran a relatively conservative strat there in single chamber to maintain his health. I like the play. I actually do something similar in new route. You can take a deboost off either that orb or the seahorse. I think it's a dragon. No, that one's a Alcoon. Sorry, but he opted not to. Looks like they're about a minute apart. Generally speaking, I would say there's about a minute between speed booster and wave on average. He had a nice double chamber, and now he's going to try to get out of this room to leave Norfair to start his process of heading up to wreck ship.
Yeah, Bug's also being pretty stingy for Diddy. He did 4 farms there and got 2 or 3 supers. Hopefully their drops get a little bit better.
Cynan unfortunately taken 2 hits there. He took one from the Alcoon and then one from the orb. Lost about 40 health or so. Energy, I guess. I always say health. Do you do that too?
Yeah, I say health. Yeah.
I've mentioned this before, but technically, if I'm going to call energy health, then I probably should call ammo mana, right?
That's right. That's your source of damage. That's what gives you your power.
So you're an old route runner, Rumble, and I think your PB is what, like a low mid 48 somewhere around.
It's 48-49.
Okay, which is a fantastic time. Anything, when you start getting in the ballpark of sub 50, you really have to start, running some advanced strats and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about, when you're running old route, this portion of the run leading up to Fantoon. What are the sort of tricky parts? Where are the places people could lose time? And then how do you approach the Fantoon?
Yeah, certainly we see Cynan here going for Alpha Spark. This is another one of the benefits of picking up the Crate E-Tank, and certainly you can still do Alpha Spark if you don't pick it up. But that makes those 2 rooms very easy and consistent. You can use a lot of time there if you don't get that Alpha Spark or you don't have a backup strat. Cynan now coming up to the second big time loss room, or I mean, the top of this room is probably where that is, but going for the hero shot and then trying to get up, and beautifully done. Lost 0 time there. Looked perfect, but it's very easy to not get up and get there before the blocks come back, and then you have to shoot them out, fall back down, wall jump back up. It can cost you quite a bit of time.
Fun bit of trivia, the fastest strat you can run in that red tower room involves shooting an angle up shot and then down grabbing, like you don't even end up having to do a hero shot at all. I have never, not a single time, I haven't tried it very many times, but I've never a single time actually pulled that strat off. So it's pretty.
Yeah, for sure. You say you don't have to do a hero shot, but it's the alternative is much harder, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
And of course, there's always the threat of being grabbed by some of the Samus eaters there. That's going to cost you quite a bit of time. This entire section, I think, is really technical and really hard and very easy to lose time. See if Diddy can get these wall jumps. And
nice Diddy. I like this play right here from Cynan. This strat, I can't tell you the exact amount of time you would lose in an old route context. In a new route context, I think it was like 2.5 seconds or so. You can power bomb and then go ahead and wait and farm those 2 crabs. Cynan went for Ocean Fly there, barely missed. But I like the play here because you get a shot at extra power bombs, but also large energy. So anyway, Cynan, after he sparks across, what is it, about 100 or so, maybe 120?
Looks like it's going to go a little bit. It's about 110 going from there.
Yeah, so maybe about 130 if he did it from the original spot. So trying to protect that energy. But it's funny to me because I always think about Fantoon in new route context. So to me, 176 means, like 4 hits and then some change. But here, technically, it's like double because you have the various suits. So Cynan can afford to be hit without even getting any energy drops a bunch of times. What's the math? Close to 9 times, 8 times?
That sounds right.
Of course, the flip side is technically your energy, it starts to get a little complicated, but the energy management and conservation of the energy is a bigger deal in old route than it is in new route. Simply because in new route, you just got to get enough to get across the bowling, and then you'll get a free refill, shortly thereafter with another tank. Here, it's going to be a while before they get another tank.
Yeah, they're going to be heading into Meridia. This is basically going to define their health and ammo up to Batwoon, right? And what we really want is enough supers to comfortably kill Batwoon.
Oh, Cynan, I think, just barely fired his missiles a little too fast. That was going to be a really nice fast there, although he did have a disappear on the first round, but I think he just fired his regular missile a little too quick to not be able to get the super in. But yeah, there we go. Nice.
Our runners both at Fantoon at the same time. Quite a close race here. We'll see if Diddy can make up some time with a little bit of a faster Fantoon fight. Cynan coming out with pretty good health and energy. 23-3, more than enough. As he picks up the supers, the left side ship supers, he'll have more than enough going into Meridia. A really nice Doppler by Diddy there.
Yeah, Fantoon is another area that I love about this game because there are so many strats that you can attempt to use against Fantoon, and if you're going for like a 2-round, they get more complex. But especially when you're first getting started, if you're specifically going for maybe a 4-round with some charge shots or a 3-round Dopplers, it's really cool to see how different people approach the fight.
Yeah, I certainly remember when I was first learning, starting with that charged wave spazer 3-shot 4-round, which was super consistent. And using a really nice attic strat by Cynan, conserving that health, not using a spark to kill those enemies, instead using blue suit and conserving both health and ammo. Really nicely done.
Yeah, that was a hot strat right there. Nice. Also a really nice, I don't know what you call that room before bowling, but he did a nice farm method there. And he's probably going to get hit 3 times here because he accidentally missed the jump. Here's the 3rd hit. Not a big deal. He's taken 30 damage per. He's got plenty of energy to get from here to the Batwoon tank. So Cynan is in great shape. And Diddy should be too, unless some kind of, bad thing happens in the attic or something like that.
Yeah, Diddy also getting out of Fantoon with full supers and full missiles, which is really nice. That kind of subtly makes a lot of farming for health a lot easier, because as you go through a lot of rooms, rather than dropping ammo, you'll get health more often. Diddy also going for that blue suit strat. Unfortunately, not quite getting it. And he's going to pick up that health. Well, he's going to pick up one of those 2 healths. Didn't quite get the other one in time.
So Rumble, are you a bowling spark guy, or are you a just jump and take the hits kind of guy?
Generally, I'm a jump and take the hits kind of guy. It depends how I'm feeling, but usually I'll just jump and take the hits. And I usually actually do a little bit of what Diddy did there, which is I'll pause just for a frame or two, in that tube section to make sure that I get a full run through the door and that I get a good first jump.
Well, I agree with that. I do the exact same thing whenever I am in a context where you have that item set at that juncture. I try to remove as many short charges as possible.
Short charges and wall jumps, the bane of our existence, I think. I do like pulling it off in like a randomizer or an SMZ3 rando where I clearly don't need to, and I probably have, 8 tanks. It's fun to get, but it's not something I worry too much about.
For sure. I mean, it's always fun to swag. I mean, this game allows for a lot of swaggy strats and things, so that's part of what makes it really fun, is that you can go for time, but you can also go just for some cool fun stuff. So anyway, Cynan is now in Meridia. As mentioned earlier, he's got plenty of energy. He's probably going to shine spark up Mount Everest here and make his way over to Botwing. Diddy is coming down the elevator. He is now back in Brinstar, and he will head down to the tube as well.
Yeah, and here is one of those places. Oh, he missed the energy, unfortunately. I had to go back for it. But those 2 cacks, if you're full on supers, and Diddy was almost full, he had 9. If you're full on supers, you're basically guaranteed large health there. So that's a nice 40 health that you can get if you have good ammo coming out of Wreck Ship.
Let's see what method Cynan uses. A lot of people have switched over to the D factor. Let's see if Cynan's going to do the same thing. Not quite. I don't really know exactly what you call that method, but it uses some room movement to set up some timing to try to get that X factor. Unfortunately, just barely missed, but was able to clean it up fairly quickly with the supers. Nicely done.
Yeah, and gets a couple of super drops from Bot Wound, which is what I think just about everybody would be happy if they got 2 supers every time from Bot Wound. And nice mock ball into the E-Tank. That's one of those, like, it's set up so perfectly for you strats. It feels real good.
Another benefit is if you leave those Puyos alive and then grab that energy tank, then unless I'm mistaken, I don't think they have nothing on their loot table, or their drop table, if you will. Oh, almost got the full heavy. So I think if you fill up with energy, you push all of the remaining, tier 1 drops to missiles, and then you still have a decent chance at some power bombs. And I think they rarely will drop a super. So cool strat there. And now we're to my least favorite fight in the game. Dragon. Mainly because it's not extremely difficult. It's just that if you barely miss anything, it can get out of control very.
Yeah, it can certainly lose a lot of time, even if it's not particularly dangerous. Like, there's a lot of ways where you have things happen and you say, well, crap. And you're not about to die, but you know you're going to lose like 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah, we just saw that. Cynan almost had the fastest possible 2 in blue Dragon strat, but just was barely off on a couple things. And then, of course, Dragon starts swooping, and it causes problems. And anyway, hopefully he survived here. I'm not sure what's going on with it.
It's just keeping us in suspense. Hey, Dragon's dead.
That is good to see. And then we're grabbing that space jump. We would not see that in new route, but in old route, it's worth the time to pick it up because you're going to utilize it to get over to Plasma Beam. You can use some different strats down in Lower Norfair. And then, obviously, if you're able to, you can also utilize those in Torian. Personally, I have never committed a ton of time to working on the space jump strats in Torian. I need to. It's just that a lot of the categories that I run or have run a lot haven't really been able to do that. Even RBO, for example, has space jump. You can't run the same strats to the T necessarily because you don't have gravity suit. So anyway, should be able to save some time with that over the course of the rest of the run.
Yeah, he's going to farm some supers here as well. I believe you want 6 supers coming out of kind of this area, so it should be good. You don't really need any once you get all the way to Ridley. You're not going to be using supers on Ridley since you all have plasma. But you do need 6 supers to get there. Might be 5 or 6.
So what you're seeing Cynan do right now, I know neither one of these are racing new route, but it's always fun to talk about the differences. One of the things you're seeing here is he's going to save time by having the plasma beam on some of the fights like Ridley and Mother Brain, but the cost is you have to path all the way over here to get it. So all this stuff that he's doing right now, pathing wise, is, you know, something you're not going to see in new route, and then all the way back down to North Fair. So some of the time that you would make up with the extra items, you lose more time picking it up, and that's why new route ends up being faster if you can pull the strats off for it.
Diddy also had out of Dragon, looking good, full on supers, which is pretty rare coming out of Dragon. This has been 2 very clean runs so far. We've got Diddy just a minute or 2 behind Cynan, right on his heels. Definitely anybody's game still, but Cynan's run has been very clean.
Yeah, they're both doing quite well. I really, in particular, liked Diddy's strat in the Cack Alley there. Unfortunately, at the end, his stream froze for just a second, but he did a nice jump off of the edge of the water. The properties of space jump work differently in water than they do in the regular air, and so sometimes you can utilize that water line in certain places in Meridia for certain strats.
Kip, are there any old route strats that you're jealous of that you don't get to run anymore?
Oh, of course. I love Plower House. That's one of the ones you'll see in Lower Norfair. I do think this plasma room, when you I sort of fairly recently learned how to do the power bomb method. I don't really get to use it much because it doesn't show up in very many categories that I run. But if you do this room correctly with that power bomb, it can be extremely cool looking. And not only does it feature some sort of off-screen shots on the pirates, but you also get a D boost and a door fix. It's pretty neat. Also, I'm a big fan of only having to shoot Mother Brain 20 times. It's pretty nice.
That is certainly a benefit to picking up plasma.
It is, and I will tell you this too. I mean, I think a lot of times when people are discussing the differences, and they also wonder how different runners gain and lose time. I think in some ways new route loses time that is somewhat invisible, maybe not fully invisible. As a runner, you get a sense of it, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize how crazy difficult the Ridley fight can be. Not from a survival standpoint, but when you have to hit him 60 times with your beam and then subtract however many missiles and supers and stuff you want to use, but your beam width is different and actually harder, in my opinion, to hit than Spacer in some cases, that fight can be one where you lose a ton of time. So the complexity of the Ridley fight is not that big in new route, or excuse me, in old route, but it gets really complicated in new route.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that, and not exactly what you're saying, but the longer fights go on, the more likely it is that mistakes get made that are catastrophic.
That's right.
And old route has the fastest fights, right? And low percent speed has the longest fights, probably the hardest mother brain of any reasonable category that's not a ROM hack. The low percent speed fight where you have 300 shots. There's just a lot of time for things to go wrong. Oh, Cynan, unfortunately, missing that fast pillar is goop sparking into the ceiling. Gonna have to use power bombs as a backup.
Yeah, which should be okay. He does have 5. He's going to use 2 in this room, 1 in the next room, and then probably, he'll need to bomb spread in the Key Hunter staircase, unless he wants to pick up the power bombs of shame. But he should be fine here.
Yeah, that looked like a very improvised strat there in worst room of the game. I think he didn't intend for that pirate on the left to die. He intended to just freeze it to use it to jump off of. Unfortunately, hit it twice with plasma, which kills it. Sort of an interesting... I've been practicing in the room a lot for low percent ice, and it's an interesting dichotomy when your mistake in any percent hold route is that they die, and your mistake in low percent ice is that you reset the game because you can't.
Right. Exactly. Ironically, this might sound counterintuitive. I actually feel like it's somewhat more difficult to get an extremely clean Ridley fight in New Route than it is in Low Ice. I won't bore you with all the details, but I think that it's somewhat easier when you get accustomed to the fight to get within a certain range of the time you're looking for in the room. In New Route, similar to Dragon, it can really snowball on you if you're not careful. So anyway, it's Ridley's very complicated. It's still tough in Old Route too, but should be significantly easier with the beam combination.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's significantly faster.
Diddy gonna go to the next room to try to set up the short charge, which is something that people, it's usually like the first what method people use when they're trying to utilize that strat.
Yeah, and
able to get.
I like you. I don't want to criticize people's strat choices, but if you watch comparisons of that strat versus, for instance, just going through and power bombing the pillars, it's actually not really any faster to go back and then do fast pillar, like use the spark to do it with the door transitions, and as opposed to just running through and power bombing them. So he could probably just run and power bomb, but maybe he wanted to conserve power bombs. Maybe that's just what he's used to doing, and that's what he's comfortable with.
That is true, actually. A lot of comparisons have been done, but at the same time, it just comes down to what people want to do. I think sometimes when shine sparks are involved, it can be, how can I put it? Like, sometimes people think that shine sparks in certain places are faster than they really are just because, you're zooming across the screen and whatnot, but you have to set up, the short charge to begin with, and then you also have the crash animation. Another good example of that, which I won't go too deep into, is that room that Diddy just left, the Key Hunter staircase there. I've actually tested out a bunch of strats for me and my level of execution, and actually not going for the short charge and jumping over the bottom Key Hunter and lagging the room by not killing anything is actually a little bit faster on average and safer for me, but I don't get the potential drops. Of course, the flip side is part of the reason I started running that is because if you screw that strat up, you can actually lose your whole run in that room. If I return to it now, it might be different, but there's just so much variation in this game, man. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about Super Metroid, in my opinion, is that there are so many options for people to do that. You can really pick how you want to do your run. Like you can choose to do more sparks if that's what you're comfortable with. I know, for instance, Fruit Bat Salad, when he runs Old Route, doesn't spark across ocean before wreck ship. He's actually found that conserving that health, even though it costs him a little bit of time in ocean, saves him a lot of time and makes it a lot more consistent for the rest of that segment from all the way through Fantoon and to Meridia, rather than doing that spark across ocean.
Right. I mean, this is why, again, I could sit here and talk about this all day. This is why Super Metroid's so fascinating, right? This is also why I like watching two runners and seeing how they approach the game, like what strats they want to use. Because sometimes, you know, you'll have a random person come in a stream and be like, why are you running this strat? You know, it's not the fastest strat. But it might be that the strat that the runner is using was easy to implement and didn't require much practice and didn't lose much time. And so they dedicated their practice time to another area that you don't know about where they're saving time over what they would have done. So Diddy has not killed Ridley yet and has taken 2 shots of damage, or 2 hits of damage. He needs to be very careful.
It's got to be close. Must be almost dead.
That's it. Okay.
There we go. There's a lot of counting in
take.
Super Metroid to get way too much counting.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers, man. You'd be surprised.
Coming out with full ammo too, which is nice. Generally not too rare in old routes, since you probably got some drops from the Metal Pirates that you have no reason to use on Ridley.
Cynan now going to head back to Meridia for just a few rooms so he can exit to the Red Tower elevator and utilize those water physics for those space jumps. And he's good to go. He's going to be heading to Torian. You know, his health or his energy is perfectly fine. I mean, in theory, I think, you know, you would prefer to have a little bit more if you could, but his super count is fantastic. And his missile count's fine too. So assuming he doesn't like mess up any grouping strats or anything early on in Torian, he should be pretty safe.
Yeah, no real reason for them to grab Ridley Tank. The Lower Norfair escape with plasma is not super dangerous, and 4 tanks, I think the runners will be more than comfortable getting through the rest of this. Diddy, be careful. I just said how safe it is with plasma. Don't prove me wrong.
Well, let's put it this way. To your point, the range of execution that you need to be safe in Lower Norfair with plasma is significantly lower. Doesn't mean that you can't mess up and die, but typically you have a wider range of possibilities than you would in like New Route, for example.
Yeah, there's a few very, very safe strats that you know, they're slower, sure, but they're not the same amount slower that they would be in New Route. For instance, if you would like to kill the 3 Musketeers, in Old Route, it's a couple charged plasma shots, they're dead, you can go through without getting hit. In New Route, you'd be plinking them with Spazer for a lot longer.
Cynan going for that mock ball and Terminator, just barely missing, but a good attempt. That shot can actually be kind of tricky. It actually took me a long time to figure out how to do that correctly, and even now I still miss sometimes. But Diddy was able to get through the 3 Musketeers by using those charge shots. Another example of how plasma affects the run. You just, if you're going for speed, you just can't do that in New Route because it would just take too long to try to kill those key hunters. I actually think the world record Old Route run might actually include purposeful farming of those 3 Musketeers, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, interesting.
You can get some drops and it reduces some lag. I'd have to double check on that. I'm not Mr. Old Route. There's a lot more people that would know more about it than me. So while we're waiting on Cynan's stream to come back up here real quick, Rumble, why don't we tell nice, Esther. That's actually a really good one. Why don't we tell the audience a little bit about whoever wins this match is going to qualify for the play-in race. We don't know what category it's going to be yet because it's going to be a secret until the time of the race. But let's tell them a little bit about how that's going to work. So I know you're not an organizer, but you have the basic premise. We're going to invite everybody that qualifies, and they're going to run together. So what do you think about that format, and why do you think that might be kind of fun to watch?
I think it's a really exciting end to the the Swiss rounds, right? And it sort of gives you that one last opportunity if you were on the cusp, if you were one of the bubble the bubble people, rather than having an algorithm determine that somebody had a slightly stronger strength of schedule. It says, you know what? Let's throw y'all into an arena, top whatever, 2, 3. I don't know how many people are going to qualify from it. Get to move on to the brackets. And I think honestly, from my perspective, we get a fantastic multi-person race out of it. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree, and this was something I brought up in the last multi-category tournament. I feel like even with some potential challenges with, you know, having a play-in race and organizing it, I think this is a significantly more fair and more exciting format than to just use challenges. Who did you beat and who did they beat? Because you don't have any control of that, and it doesn't factor in your actual individual performance, which I think is a problem. So the fact that, you know, I'm a competitive person, like in terms of I just enjoy competition. So the fact that if I'd have been 4-2 and had a chance to race other people to get in would have made me excited. So I think it's going to be a much better situation for people. I'm real curious to see how it turns out.
Oh, interesting. 12. Tracy is saying 12 or 13 players for 9 spots. That's a lot more than I expected.
Exactly.
I thought it would be a lot like I thought like 7 or 8 players for 2 or 3 spots, but 9 spots out of 12 or 13. That's going to make for some interesting strategic choices for a lot of runners.
Exactly. And see, part of the issue here is we didn't know in advance exactly how many people would sign up. If we had had more people sign up, we would have had 7 rounds. And so the numbers and the number of play-in participants and then the number of available slots could have been different. So I think when we do another one of these in the future, we'll revisit this and kind of take a look and see, because I do think having, you know, let's say 12 people and 9 people qualify, that's very lenient, and that's going to really benefit the stronger runners because they can play exceptionally conservative probably and still have a decent chance to qualify. So, you know, we'll look at that in the future, but I still think this is better to get everybody on an even playing field than to use an algorithm. Oh, Cynan. Just took
Careful.
a catch up.
Now, I understand that if you have 100 extra health, you could, you know, take a catch up to make sure your damage down, but maybe Cynan knows Mother Brain better than I do, but you can get double or triple hit from those things if they hit at a wrong angle, which would have ended his run. So happy to see that didn't happen. He is through mostly of the dangerous parts. It is possible for Mother Brain 3 to go really oddly wrong, but I'm glad to see that didn't happen. I believe both of these runners are 3 and 2.
Apparently, I was wrong about that. I didn't look closely. I think Cynan might have been according to challenge, it gets complicated, but I think he might have ended up being this round's lowest 3 and 2 player or whatever by their internal system, and so then he got matched up with like the highest 2 and 3 runner maybe. I guess Diddy is going to end up being 2 and 4 if Cynan closes this out. But still, we do have someone qualifying for the play-in race, so that is very exciting.
Running a 3-tank low % ice route? That's crazy. Why would you do such a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe someone would run low % with no safety.
Yeah, I found low % is a lot just safer in general if you pick up plasma.
You're right. I'm sure it would be.
You know, why can't Super Metroid low % be like Zero Mission or Fusion, where the key items don't count, so you can get to pick up all the powerful beams?
I like it better this way. I think it's more fascinating.
It's okay. It's probably better, but it's a lot harder. And I want to be able to do it more.
About what would be faster if you did 15%, like if you did low % ice and then added an extra item or whatever. Like, I wonder what would make the most difference. And I guess it's probably still plasma, but I think you could make an argument for wave depending on the strats you run and the route you take. But anyway, it's so unimportant. It's not even really worth talking about.
it's an interesting question because there are other categories of 14%, and I wonder if there's another category of 14% that would benefit more from adding one item than low percent ice would.
Well, honestly, if you added one extra item, speed would probably end up. Well, then you're dealing with the power bomb situation in Torian. I don't know, man. It's tough. The thing about Wave that I find fascinating is it's on the way to Lower Norfair. You can use X Factor strats on Ridley, and a lot of people don't know this. You can actually X Factor Mother Brain. I think it's complicated, but it can be done. But anyway, what do we got here, Rumble?
What do we got? We've got a winner with Cynan Meche finishing with an official SRL time of 49:20. Very nicely done. GG, Cynan. Congratulations on making it into... He's made it into the playoff race, right? That puts him at 4-2.
He is in the play-in race. Congratulations on a fantastic tournament and a nice race, a nice sub-50 time here in any...
And Diddy finishing up right behind him. What did we say Diddy's PB was? 52-51. I don't know if that's up to date, but I guess he's a little bit behind that.
Yeah, I think he's slightly behind that right now, just barely, but a really solid run. And it's also possible he has a faster time now. Like sometimes people don't update their time on the spreadsheet like during the tournament, just because once you lock in your initial seeding, updating spreadsheets are relevant. So yeah, congratulations to Cynan. Let's see if we want to get him in here for an interview. You know what? I didn't even realize something. Hold on. Apparently there was another race going on right now, triple bingo, between Emmett and Traffic Talks, I think. And then there's 2 more races later today, but I think we are joined by Cynan. Cynan, can you hear us?
I do not think... Oh, there you go. I think I heard that. GG, Cynan.
GG, thanks.
Yeah, GG, great run. Nice sub-50 time. Very clean run. Tell us a little bit about, you're 4-2. You're going to be playing in the play-in race, which is very exciting. Tell us a little bit about what your expectation is, or maybe what you would prefer. What do you want to see any percent Hundo or GT Classic?
Well, for the category, I don't think I mind probably any percent or GT Classic, because my Hundo is pretty bad. But yeah, I did not expect to make a top, at least to have a chance at top 16, so I'm pretty happy so far, even though I don't think I'm gonna make it in the eventual playoff. But so far I'm happy with how it went.
Well, that's good, and you never know. I mean, there's going to be, I believe, 13 runners in the play-in race for 9 spots. So, anything can happen in a race, and you're obviously a very quality runner. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see you qualify. But yeah, that'd be a huge positive for you in terms of initial seeding. I think you were initially seeded 29th, and then, you're definitely higher than that already, and then potentially in the top 16 if you win in the play-in race. So that's a really good tournament performance. How have you enjoyed the tournament? How's your experience been?
Yeah, it was a very good tournament that forced me to learn RBO and practice a lot of my low eyes, so I'm pretty happy about that too. It was pretty good.
Awesome. Hey, if there's another multi-category tournament, is there any additional categories that you think should be added?
That's a good question. I don't run any other category than these that were in the tournament, so I think those are pretty good.
Cool. We do unfortunately have Diddy Kong coming to save the animals, which is a little bit sad. I think you should let them save themselves, but apparently he wants to go help out.
Saving the animals on a Sunday. You hate to see it. Just kidding, Diddy. Do whatever you like. But Diddy is going to finish in second place with an official SRL time of Rumble. What do we got?
We have an official SRL time of 53:51. GG Diddy. Very nice run. I think saw a lot of really good strats, a lot of rooms from Diddy. Kept it close. Both runners in touring at the same time. Fantastic race. Really appreciated it. GG.
And once again, shout outs to Diddy for being one of our organizers, working really hard behind the scenes to make this all work. Cynan, what was your favorite race of your 6 races that you had in this tournament? I didn't see everybody's, every single race, so I don't remember what all categories that you've run. But what was your favorite race so far in the 6?
I think it was the RBO race versus Cross Product. That was it was kind of close. I lost, but it was pretty good race, I think, and it was a PB also, so it was pretty fun.
That's awesome. I do wonder, Kip, I don't know if we're keeping track of how many people have PB'd during one of the races, because I know there's been a few of them throughout the course of the tournament that have.
There have been. I don't know. That might be on the sheet somewhere, or we might not, because it's kind of difficult to track a little bit. But I do know not only have many people PB'd, but a lot of people, or several people, have actually completed their first run of a category. Like, I know my buddy Mass Hysteria, his very first RBO completed run was in his race. I think we might have had the same thing happen with maybe a low ice race at some point. So very cool to see people improving their times. I'm sure that we had a lot of movement on the leaderboards over the course of the last 8 weeks. Well, Cynan, we'll wrap it up from there. At this point, if you have anything else you'd like to say, feel free. Otherwise, we will get you the information on the play-in race at some point in the near future, and look forward to seeing you in that race.
Thanks. Good luck everyone in the playing race.
All right. And once again, congratulations. It's going to be hype. We're very, very close. Let me take a look here at the spreadsheet. I don't know the results of the other race going on right now, but I do know that the last 2 races, one at 4 p.m. Eastern, one at 5 p.m. Eastern, all of those runners have playoff implications. I believe the 4 o'clock, whoever wins will make the play-in, whoever loses will be out. And then at 5 o'clock, between Sloaters and Fruit Bat Salad, whoever wins will be locked into the playoffs, and whoever loses will be in the play-in race. But that's a big one, because that's the matchup between the finals of the last multi-category tournament. Sloaters ended up being the champion, and Fruit Bat Salad was second place. So I'm really hyped to watch that race.
Yeah, actually, both those races are going to be really good. Hero 82 and Woody, very closely seated, if I remember correctly. Like, I'm trying to find it on the. Here we go. We had Woody at 25th seed, and Hero at 21. So, that's gonna, like you said, that's gonna move one of them into the playoff race. So that'll be exciting match to watch. Do we know what they're running yet? Have they said?
Woody and Hero?
Yeah.
I think they're running low ice.
Oh, baby.
Maybe not. Maybe I made that up. I know that both of them. I know that they both run low ice, and I remember Hero at one point mentioning to me that even if someone like Woody, who I think has a slightly faster low percent time than Hero, that he would be still willing to do it because it would be fun and exciting. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if Woody wants to do that in a race, or maybe Hero's changed his mind. But I know both of them are certainly capable of running the category.
Yeah, I actually just looking up Woody's time, because I know he had a sub hour, but it looks like he actually got a PB today of 57:41.
Ooh, hot time.
Yeah, that's a real good low percent ice time. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Hero sticks to his word after seeing Woody get a big fat PB right at the end, right before the race.
Well, I guess that's probably going to do it for us here shortly. I do want to shout out our sponsors of this tournament, Mega Cat Studios and Balls Guarana. If you look at the bottom right of your screen, you will see their information. They were kind enough to donate some financial rewards to our players in the playoffs. So we're excited that we're going to be able to reward our players that way. Make sure to watch the rest of the races today. And then tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, Rumbleman's here, along with the Hockey Towner, will be back on my channel to do another recap of the Strat Chat Tournament Edition. We're going to be talking about what happened in round 6. Looking forward to the play-in race, having some interviews with players. In fact, I'm bringing in a lot of runners from across different skill levels of this tournament just to get their take on how they thought it went. Should be a lot of fun. Rumble, I guess that's it for me. I'll let you close this out, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Skip. Thank you, SpeedGaming, for the organization, for getting us some good restreams, getting us to all these matches to watch. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you to the tournament organizers and GG, Cynan, and Diddy. Good race. I can't wait to see the play-in race. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys look out and watch that schedule so that you know when that's happening. That's it from me. I will leave you, as always, with the advice to always try to be the person that your dog thinks you are. Thank you and have a good day.